Did you hear that 91% of guys that use Dove Men Plus Care antiperspirant recommend it? Dove Men Plus Care user James said that it has some kind of clever formula in their design to look after the pits. Guess that makes Dove Men Plus Care antiperspirant the smart choice then, James. Pick some up at your local retailer today.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Subscribe now by going to the Listen tab in the ESPN app.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Good morning. We are back and better than ever, and we are already judging the wardrobe of Jay Cutler on his first day in Miami. Glad you've chosen to start your day with Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. NFL preseason around the corner in earnest. Feels like teams are sort of tidying up before the dinner party begins. You got odds and loose ends being tied up, a little dirty laundry being aired, and really big decisions about to be made. So it is a football day through and through, big fella. Nothing
football.
but football.
Oh, I thought when you said big decisions, obviously I thought you were talking about The Bachelorette last night. The Bachelorette finale was last night, and it was hot trash.
There seems to be extraordinary disappointment.
Come on. 3 guys left, Brian, Peter, and Eric. Eric got the early hook out of the live finale. Rachel, kissed him goodbye. He was gone, of course, through tears and the whole deal. I quickly proclaimed Peter was going to be the winner because Peter should have been the winner. But here's the kicker. Peter didn't want to get married. She wanted to get married. She wanted the engagement. Peter didn't want it. Peter said, let's date. She didn't want to date. She wanted to get married. So Brian ends up being like, most colleges now that take the third or fourth choice. Okay? Brian wasn't the first choice. He won. They'll break up soon, and she'll probably be dating Peter again. Rachel, who everybody loved, and I can go to Andrea on this because she's a freak on this show, I think people started disliking Rachel by the end of this thing. Because God forbid, after 3 months, somebody doesn't want to actually get married. They want to actually continue a relationship and see if anything grows from it. But Rachel wants, put a ring on it. You know what I'm talking about? Put a ring on the finger here. And Peter said, no, I don't want to. So she said, sorry, can't pick you.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know exactly what it says about us as a society that we pay so much attention to these shows. It's interesting how
the
much
ratings
people,
are monstrous on this thing.
Believe me, I know. Everyone is talking about it. It goes crazy on social while it's actually happening. I did not see 1 second, literally 1 second. If you showed me a picture of the Bachelorette.
Yeah.
Rachel? I couldn't have told you her name until you just said it.
Extremely pretty young lady.
I couldn't identify her.
But extremely.
Show me 3 pictures of 3 different women. I will not be able to tell you which one
everybody
is
liked
Rachel.
her. Andrea, can she get on the mic there? Everybody liked Rachel, but at the end, she wasn't liked very well, was she?
No, because she settled.
There you go.
What does that mean exactly?
She settled.
It's a dating show.
She wanted the ring, and she was going to take nothing else but a ring.
And Peter was her favorite, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. She cried for Peter. She wanted him so bad, and he wasn't going to propose, so she picked somebody else.
There you go. She settled. Peter was there, said, let's just date. Let's get to know each other for more than 3 months and a couple of one-on-one dates, one of which is an overnight date, if you know what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, she wants the ring on. He wants a little more time to get to know her. Is that wrong?
Oh, I don't think so.
That's not wrong.
Seems logical
at
to me.
all. So Brian's a winner. Good luck on that 1 week dating you're going to do with Rachel before you guys bust up.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And yet this is what everyone is paying attention to, right? I'm just missing out.
And I was watching it kind of on the fringe. I'm not into it this year. Chris, my wife, Sydney, they were tweeting last night. Mike's in Europe. Mike's in Amsterdam, so he usually tweets about it.
Now, he's got all kinds of other bachelorette considerations going
exactly
on.
Exactly right. He didn't need to worry about that show.
He's in Amsterdam, yeah.
So, everybody's into it. And with social media, I mean, it is to the second things are happening. It's incredible. So you mentioned in the open big decisions. That was the big decisions last night, and Rachel blew it.
I guess that got made last night. Yes, Bachelorette finale is the number 2 trending topic on Twitter, even now, behind hashtag my 4-word obituary.
My 4-word obituary?
That's what's the number 1 trending topic in the U.S. right now.
Cool.
I see Rachel here now. As I just opened up Twitter. She's very pretty. I agree. I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to have to just leave it to you for all of the. You tell me, have we done enough Bachelorette at this point, or do we need a little more insight?
We did it here.
Do we need a guest on this?
No. We could or Andrea would be our guest on it because she is either that or my wife or my daughter, one of the two who's into it like that. We can maybe touch on it again. But what was trending number 1?
Hashtag my 4-word obituary.
Ate too many donuts.
That's it.
How about that?
And you got it all covered. We got the top 2 trending topics on Twitter working for you. Now let's go off the top and see what's going on sports. And it starts with Mike Trout, who celebrated his 26th birthday with his 1,000th career base hit. It came in a loss to the Orioles, but still, Trout's numbers remarkable.
Yeah, just incredible what he has done. How about this? Hit number 1,001 was his 4th home run on his birthday. That's pretty impressive as well. The most by any player in baseball history by 26. A-Rod is the only other player all time to hit a home run on 4 different birthdays. He hit his 4th on his 29th. And as we said, Mike Trout did it on his 26th. The dude is just incredible.
He's not the only one.
No.
With a milestone last night, the player against whom I think he will always be judged, Bryce Harper, hit his 150th career home run.
He was 24 years, 295 days on Monday yesterday when he hit the 150th career home run. How about this? It's the exact same age to the day that birthday boy Mike Trout was when he hit his 150th career home run back in May 28, 2016 off Dallas Keuchel. So these two guys are the two of the best players in the game, 2 of the youngest players in the game. And by the way, Bryce Harper is putting up numbers equal to or better than his MVP season in 2015.
Meanwhile, speaking of numbers, equal to or better, or maybe worse than anything you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
The New York Football Jets, as the season gets set to begin, to say they have very little talent on the offensive side of the ball would be a very kind way of putting it. Quincy Enunwa was pretty much their only receiver, the only one of any accomplishment whatsoever on their team, and sort of an emerging good player. He's got on IR with a neck injury. He is not going to play the entire season. I'm speechless. Mike, I actually looked it up last night. The record for fewest points scored by a team in a 16-game season is 140, set by the Seahawks in 1992. I genuinely believe that record is in jeopardy of falling this year. How are the Jets going to score points?
I don't know. He's the only Jets receiver on the roster.
Stop there. Stop. You can end the sentence right there.
With 1,000.
You don't even need to qualify it. He was the only Jets receiver on the roster.
I have another fun note for you, too, about the quarterback. But he's the only Jets receiver on the roster with 1,000 career receiving yards. Next closest, Marquise Wilson with 777. It's going to be bad. And
what's the quarterback now? Let's have some fun with that one, too.
Did you hear with Christian Hackenberg what happened on the practice field?
You start that like it almost sounds like you're about to say, did you hear the one about the priest and the rabbi who walk into the bar? Yes, I did. I read it in Peter King's thing.
He broke the huddle, didn't break the huddle correctly. Remember, he's the quarterback. He breaks the huddle.
Right.
Didn't break it correctly. Got to the line, and as happens, sent back to the huddle to re-break the huddle again correctly. He broke the huddle again incorrectly and was sent off the field. You can't make this up.
The Jets have a quarterback who didn't make it to the line of scrimmage in practice
2 times and got sent off the field.
And their only receiver of note is out for the season before the first preseason game begins. My goodness, can we just hit the fast-forward button on this here? Elsewhere, Brandon Albert wants to unretire, and the Jaguars may not let him. Can you explain this one? It's sort of a complicated story.
Yeah, he was traded from Miami to Jacksonville in March for a 7th-round pick. He has 2 years left on his deal. He never went to the off-season program, not to the minicamp, was there for just a bit of camp. The first day he was out with the first team. After that day, Cam Robinson, who was the 34th pick in the draft, the tackle from Alabama, had taken over the number 1 spot. And then he retired. He retired July 31st, just 3 days into training camp, said he was going to go, through his business interests and such, and now wants to come back. So it doesn't look like Jacksonville wants him back. None of his money is guaranteed. He wanted a new deal, and Jacksonville, they said, we're not redoing your deal. You have 2 years left. He's supposed to make 8.8 this year and 9.5 next year. None of that is guaranteed. So he walked, didn't get another deal, walked for a week, now wants to come back, and it doesn't look like that they're going to have anything to do with that. So if they don't want him, I mean, he's there. he's with them right now. They would have to release him or whatever would happen at this point.
They can't just ban him from playing in the NFL.
No.
He can come back and play for them. They can levy whatever sort of punishment they feel due based upon his having left camp, or they can cut him.
Yeah, because I listen. There's even part of this I don't get, because he walked away to retire, but you do have to fill out retirement papers. He didn't do that.
That's what I mean.
So he just left for a week. So, how in limbo is he? Bottom line is he wants to come back. He was a left tackle traded from Miami. He's missed 20 games in the last 5 years, and it doesn't look like that Jacksonville wants it back. Shefty will be on later, and he'll explain some of the ins and outs of this.
And he'll also explain, hopefully, where the NFL is on its investigation into the situation with Zeke Elliott. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones, in what I think were very reasonable comments. Like if you just look at the headline, it's another example. Mike, you brought this up, I remember, one day recently. The headline sometimes totally misleads you. Mm-hmm. The headline makes it sound like Stephen Jones blasted the NFL because this investigation is taking so long into figuring out whether or not there's going to be discipline for Zeke Elliott. His comments are actually very reasonable and measured. Yeah. But he does say, now that we have our own investigation, we need to move it along a little fast.
Yeah, and again, it was a committee for the NFL that was looking into this and doing the investigation. Then they'll take their findings to Roger Goodell, and he'll be the ultimate decision maker on this. But it's a committee that's handling this investigation. It does seem like it's lasting a long time. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I don't blame the Cowboys. Now, again, he could be suspended today, but he can still play through the preseason.
Right.
None of that happens till the regular season. So the actual effect of it isn't until the regular season, but I don't blame them for wanting to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it doesn't probably impact anything, actually.
No, it really doesn't, but it is a while, and it's just kind of hanging there.
It is.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, if you thought he might get suspended for 12 games, then they might have to make some roster adjustment.
Right.
Everyone knows at maximum it'll be 2 games.
Exactly.
They're not going to have to do anything.
You're absolutely right. So most likely 1, I think 2 at the most, if he's suspended at all. So we'll see, but I do agree with him that I thought this would be done at a more rapid pace.
All right, and that is Off the Top with Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. You could save hundreds on your car, your business, or your recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive.
This could be a point, and last week when Booger was filling in on the show, he did suggest maybe the NFL was waiting until after Jerry Jones' Hall of Fame induction and all of that. The whole team was there at that. They played in the Hall of Fame game. I have no idea if that's true or not. Maybe it is, and maybe that's a good thing, but I don't know. We don't know if that's true, but it certainly, if they were, would be, I guess, deemed a good thing to wait and not have that, right there. Though, like you said, it's only going to be a game or two, so I think even when the news hits, it's not going to be some devastating news.
The thing about that one is, what they're taking into account, I assume, is, A, they're investigating the specific allegations involved with the domestic violence. That's obviously by far the most important thing. But there are also a variety of other little examples that we've seen over the course of time of bad judgment, just flat-out bad judgment on the part of Zeke Elliott. And maybe they're getting some information on those as well and figuring out how, if at all, they're going to factor into their ultimate decision with Zeke Elliott. One way or another, I think it's the likeliest scenarios that he winds up being suspended for the first game of the season and that gets announced very soon. Yep. Adam Schefter will be in, as you mentioned, Mike, this morning live, and he will give us the very latest, 9:30 Eastern for Schefter in studio.
I guess one note we could add to that, as far as what Zeke Elliott is up, is we just talked about Jay Cutler. We're going to more and hear some sound, but his top receiver, Jarvis Landry, is under investigation now for possible domestic violence with his girlfriend. His girlfriend, by the way, says we had a screaming match and nothing. There was no criminal nothing. There was no physical harm, nothing. She said nothing happened outside of a screaming match.
Her very strongly worded statement defends him and supports him and says they're raising their child together.
Exactly.
Basically, paraphrasing it, she says that they got into a very loud shouting match that caused someone else to call 911.
Exactly. So, this is going on right now. He is definitely their best receiver. They have been in the news, obviously, with Jay Cutler signing, so we'll see where this investigation goes.
All right, so all of that as we begin today. And now let's hear a little bit from Jay Cutler. I have 2 Cutler sound bites as he was introduced yesterday as the new quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. 2 that I want you to hear. The first of which is, I think this makes sense. Now, look, Cutler is an easy target. He's made himself an easy target over the years with some of the ways he's handled himself, and that's fine. But the reality is the way this thing played out, I think, is very reasonable. I think he did not see a situation. The season came to an end. The Bears made no secret they didn't want him anymore. And why would he want to go back there anyway? He has enough money to retire if he wants to. He had a nice broadcasting gig sitting there waiting for him if he wanted to. Yep. So he was content with that. And if a really good, like borderline perfect situation just fell into his lap, he would listen. And as you'll hear him say in this soundbite, that's basically what happened. If you look at the way the stars aligned, you called it yesterday a perfect storm. They did. And so he came back, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable way of looking at it. Here was Cutler yesterday.
A situation like this, I mean, just doesn't come along very often. I mean, I know Adam very well. I've known him since '06, the first year I came out. I know the system. You're talking about a playoff team with a lot of really, really good football players, a lot of potential. So it's one of those things that there weren't a lot of opportunities or jobs out there. If they would have came up, I would have taken. But this has got to be the top of the list.
I don't think there's any doubt it was the top of the list. The situation couldn't have fallen to him any better if there was an inkling of still playing. Because he's right. There weren't going to be opportunities, especially maybe opportunities he even wanted, or quite honestly, even if he didn't want just to see an opportunity, they weren't going to be there. But this you want to call it desperation, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. To me, it was the right move. Get the guy that knows the system, get the guy that had the least amount of turnovers when I coached him, and see what we can do.
Herman Edwards, for those of you who weren't with us late in the show yesterday, Herman Edwards said, here's the advantage Jay Cutler has over anyone else that was an option. And when you're looking for a quarterback in August, you're not shopping at Hermes, right? You're shopping in the discount places. The advantage he has over anybody else is he walks in there able to call a play day one. And that makes a difference when it's already August, what is today, 8th.
Yeah.
It's already, it's not July 8th, it's not March 8th, it's August 8th. So there's a game Thursday, he won't play in it, by the way, and the regular season is a month away. So the fact that he walks in there and can at least get into the huddle, unlike Christian Hackenberg, break the huddle and call a play is a huge advantage when you're dealing with where we are.
It is. You're past the point of teaching a new system and a different quarterback learning a new language. So you're beyond that. You can get the good reps in with receivers, and you can get a rhythm going with that offense. That name of the store that you said, would it have any? What was it?
Hermes.
Would it have anything that fits me?
Not a lot. Although, tell everyone what you told me yesterday. Yesterday, at one point during the show, I complimented Golick on the shirt that he was wearing. I really liked the shirt you were wearing. Turns out it was an Under Armour shirt, which
it was.
Mm-hmm. It looked dressier than what I would normally associate. I associate, and I love Under Armour, but I associate them usually, of course, with athletic wear.
Yes.
That was sort of a dressier look. But it was a very nice blue and a little pocket. I really liked it. Yeah. And what did you tell me about your sizing?
I said I'm down to an XL now. I'm about 240 pounds, 238, 240, what I was in high school, and I'm down wearing XL stuff now.
It's unbelievable because it used to be the 2Xs were too small on you.
Yeah, they were.
You couldn't wear a 2X. He's gotten down to an XL, which means in some things, you and I wear the same size.
Yeah.
In some brands, I wear an XL. And so the answer to the question, does Hermes? No. They make things generally for Europeans who are just cut smaller than us.
Where did you took me somewhere? Remember the first time we went to Houston for the Super Bowl at the Galleria Mall? You took me somewhere in there, some hoity-toity place that had nothing that could fit me. I forgot what it was.
It might have been like the Prada store or something.
I have no idea.
I don't remember which
brand. But
brand.
nothing fit me, and everything was over $1,000.
Right.
So I was happy nothing fit me. So unless you were going to buy it for me.
What store was that?
I don't know, but I wasn't in there long.
Whatever it was, you're right.
It was wee clothes for wee people.
And that's exactly where they're not shopping right now, the Dolphins. But yes, I do remember that happening, and now I can't remember what store he went into. Either way. The point is, Cutler's got a shirt that fit awfully tight, and they were shopping in the only area they had available to them, and it worked out. Now, the other thing is, Cutler comes back, and everyone was making jokes about what kind of shape he's in, how much working out has he been done, and boy, did he give a classic answer to that.
Well, the good thing is I play quarterback, so I don't really have to be in that great of cardiovascular shape. But I'll be fine. Adam knows kind of what I've been up to, so we'll figure it out along the way.
He's been up to nothing, but I mean, I said that exact thing yesterday, and I was trying to say it in a nice way. I don't want to sit there and say, they can just be, smoking a pack a day and just walk onto the field and be able to play while doing nothing.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but he said it, and he's right. They don't have to be in the type of shape that a cornerback or a D-end, a rush end, or a linebacker or a wide receiver has to be in. He understands that, and it's going to be a matter of, and I heard Adam Gase saying they're definitely in practice going to have a bit of a pitch count until his arm gets warmed up and gets used to throwing again. But, yeah, cardiovascularly, it's not like, he needs to be, Usain Bolt here.
He is a good athletic quarterback. Like I heard some people saying yesterday, he's not a running quarterback. He's not a running quarterback in the way that
he's
someone like Russell Wilson is.
He's an escaping
and he throws on the run. That's probably his best thing.
Listen, it's because he had to do it at Vanderbilt almost from day one there. He had to run, get out of the way of rushers, and he became such an excellent thrower on the run. So, yes, he escapes well, but he wants to make the play behind the line of scrimmage.
Correct. He'll run to throw. He's running around back there to throw the ball, sometimes to his enormous detriment, because he winds up throwing it to guys in the other color jersey. But he is a guy who will run around back there. So I thought it was hilarious that he said that.
I listened to the whole thing, and when they showed it live, and it was all fine. I thought he answered everything extremely well. He got everything thrown at him. He did say it was his wife, Kristen Cavallari, who basically said, yeah, go back.
Right.
He thought she was kind of sick of having him around as much as she did.
Yeah, I have that soundbite too. Here's the thing. I heard people yesterday when they saw someone, I don't know who is it, first put it up, that his salary at Fox would have been $450,000 and he's getting $10 million. Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously.
Money can talk.
Yeah, sure. That's a factor in this. But this wasn't the only team that at any point along the way was going to want him and was going to pay him more than he was going to make in broadcasting.
Yeah.
So he came back for – I don't know that someone was offering him $10 million during free agency. But certainly someone would have offered him millions of dollars to come in and compete for their quarterback job.
Yes.
I think people – and look, again, he's a bit of a punching bag, and he has made that bed himself, and that just is what it is. But the reality is there's nothing about this – that you need to attach anything to. Like, it all just kind of came about reasonably.
It absolutely
Quarterback
did.
got hurt, perfect situation. He came back, done.
And if the reports are true and said he was still leaning to broadcasting and leverage for more money, then that's negotiating. There's nothing wrong with doing that at all.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Back and better than ever. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests, like Peter King, will join us in a couple of minutes on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Stu Gotts today, Andy Reid today, Adam Schefter, and a whole lot more. Quickly,
I can't wait for Andy Reid to break down The Bachelorette last night.
I can't wait for Andy Reid to explain how one breaks a huddle incorrectly. But he'll know. But anyway, I got a text from Billis during the break.
Oh, is he mad about something?
He's not mad, but he is. So I made a comparison that he makes a good point.
You made your comparison
of Leitner to Tebow.
Yeah, more than a few people have
correct.
So
they're pointing out how much better of a pro Leitner was than Tebow.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And actually, Jay sent me some of the numbers. Leitner scored over 11,000 points, almost 6,000 rebounds in the NBA, was all rookie and made an all-star team with the Hawks, played 13 years. His pro career didn't match his amazing college career, but he's no Tebow. Totally fair. Totally right. I didn't mean it that way. So I probably could have come up with and should come up with a better example then, because what I meant by it was Leitner, if you just look at his college career, it's as accomplished as basically anyone.
Well, I wonder if Jay
he'd be there with like Kareem and people like that.
Does Jay believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame?
He does.
He does.
Yes.
He does. Yeah.
He does.
Because I'll say it again.
He said Ralph Sampson got in, and so should Leitner.
Yeah, it is not the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. So college counts in this one, and Leitner had an incredible college career and
as we said, we both believe he should be in the Hall of Fame based on that.
Yeah.
He had a respectable NBA career.
Right.
It did not match. All I was really trying to say was Tim Tebow had as good a college quarterbacking career as basically there's ever been.
He did. There were a lot of questions of him going into the pros. He did go in the first round, but there were a lot of people that would not have done that, but all it takes is one. I'm trying to think back of what was the book on Leitner coming into the NBA?
He went third. Leitner went behind Shaq and Alonzo Mourning.
Right.
And then Leitner got drafted. And what Leitner was in the NBA for a long time was a good player. I mean, that's what he was. He was a good player.
I guess
certainly accomplished far more in the NBA than Tebow did in the NFL. I didn't mean it that. So you're right. If other people are tweeting that in, and Jay, you're absolutely right. That isn't the way I meant it, and I should have come up with a better example. So what is a better example? Of someone.
Of a great college career, and then
I mean, I guess there are a million examples of great college quarterbacks who turned out to be decent NFL quarterbacks, right? That's what Leitner
think
was.
of some Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks who went on to have pedestrian careers.
The list is endless, right? I mean, the list of that is endless. So Fair enough. What's the word? I concede the point that was not the right example to make. All I was trying to say is Leitner is the only member of the original Dream Team not inducted into the Hall of Fame as an individual. And I think based upon his college career, he probably could get it.
I think he's got a pretty good resume to be in.
And for those of you who think we're embellishing it, again, no one projected him to become what Alcindor became as a collegian or Walton. These are the greatest college players of all time.
Yeah.
Alcindor, Walton, those are the greatest collegians of all time. Leitner made the Final Four every year he was in college. He won 2 national championships as overwhelmingly the best player on those 2 teams.
Absolutely.
You look at the numbers. You look at the game against the game he played against Kentucky. People remember the shot, but it's one of the he didn't miss a shot the entire game from the field or from the foul line. He was one of the great collegians of all time. That's really the point.
It is surprising to me. I actually now I want to delve into it for voters for that and try and understand why he isn't in, why he hasn't been voted in. The thought process that he didn't do enough in the NBA when it's not the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. What a college career.
We need to look up, because there are a lot of different people. There are international basketball people in the Hall of Fame. There are people from the women's game who are in the Hall of Fame, and any number of different areas outside of the NBA. How many, if any, members of the Hall of Fame were great male collegiate basketball players who didn't have great NBA careers?
Right.
That's the thing I don't know.
I don't know that either, but since it's open to all basketball players, That should weigh pretty heavily when you had the career that he had in college.
Yeah, I need to see who else is in there. I've been to the Hall of Fame, but I haven't taken notice of that in particular. So that was really what I meant by that. So if people were responding to that, again, Jay immediately jumped in there and made the comparison to Ralph Sampson. Now Sampson, again, great collegian, not nearly as accomplished a collegian as Leitner, or at least his teams weren't as good. I perceive them, and again, I don't have any of these numbers in front of me, I perceive him to have had a better NBA career than Leitner did. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, he was on that team when he and Elijah Wan played together that made the finals, and he was projected to be so much better.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was trying to even. I know Leitner went third, but my projection that when you made the Tebow comparison as well, the projection going into the NFL, I would imagine Leitner was projected to do more in the NBA than Tebow was in the NFL.
All right, let's do fill in the blank with us, Mike and Mike here. We'll try and get Peter King coming up for you shortly here, and we'll find out what, if anything, what exactly it is he meant by an inability to break the huddle, which is one of the stories that he's got. But let's do fill in the blank right now. Go around the world of sports. It's brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. Filling in the blank, Golick. First off, Brock Osweiler will start the first preseason game for the Browns. That was announced yesterday. But blank will start the first regular season game for Cleveland.
And I had said Cody Kessler would be the starter a while ago. The word was Deshaun, what I'm in talking to people, and who obviously I still, being from Cleveland, know that DeShone Kizer was kind of making a rise, and then the last scrimmage they had, he kind of played like a rookie. Kessler didn't play all that well, and Brock did. So, again, this is the first preseason game, the first start. The starters, all depending on the coach and the team, depending on how long. Some games the starters will be in for one series. Other, they may be in for longer. I'll be interested to see, because when you're in a quarterback competition, maybe you're going to leave the starters in a little bit longer in this one. Am I ready to change it to Brock Osweiler? Maybe I am, or maybe for a while I'll still stick with Cody Kessler, since I said that we're not even into preseason yet. So I'll say that.
But you don't think it'll be Kizer?
No, I don't think it'll be Kizer.
Don't you think they want it to be, like, in a perfect world? Wouldn't you like it to be if you're them?
No. I think they would like it to be someone else, and then possibly and see where they go, which a lot of people don't think it's going to be somewhere, and then Kizer at some point this year take over.
Next, Greg Schiano saying Ohio State's defensive line is better than the NFL defensive lines he has is blank.
The thing to say when you're coaching in college now. There's no way that's true. So I think he's at Ohio State now. That's where he's coaching, and he's talking about people he's coaching. And listen, Ohio State has unbelievably talented players that go into the NFL every year. We see a number of them going into the NFL. Joey Bosa, one of those. Joey Bosa's younger brother is a D lineman at Ohio State now. But their D line isn't better than Tampa Bay's.
Not man for man now, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't in the conversation when he was having it. And the quote is, "It is, and that's no joke." But he has to mean, because he coached in the NFL again. He coached Gerald McCoy and a bunch of other really good players. He has to mean, relative to our level. Like, I think our D-line can be more dominating than my D-line was in Tampa. I mean, he has to mean something.
For those
like
that are taking it at face value, I would completely
that would be like one of these,
that.
Alabama could beat the Jets, which actually this year they probably could. Next, the most intriguing head coach in college football this season is blank.
Well, I mean, I'm going to, there's a number from Mike Gundy to Brian Kelly, Jim Harbaugh, Lincoln Riley, Tom Herman, Lane Kiffin, Ed Orgeron.
Dabo Swinney, Mark D'Antonio, and Jimbo Fisher. That was the top 10 according to Pat Forty.
Right.
And notice, not in that list is Nick Saban. He had him 13th. And that's why this got a lot of attention.
Well, I mean,
yesterday.
I think I would naturally lean toward Brian Kelly and Notre Dame. They had a bad year last year. They have a new quarterback this year. And Brandon Wimbush, so while everybody likes him, he still hasn't played it down in college football. So luckily there is some veteran leadership around him. It's my school, coming off a bad year. So that
is he on the hot seat? Would you describe Brian Kelly as being
Notre
on the hot
Dame?
seat? No question,
the
right?
first person that knows he's on the hot seat is Brian Kelly. I don't think that's talking out of school at all. Yeah, he understands what's going on there.
Let me do one more, and then we're going to get Peter King in, I'm told. But what do you think of this one? I like this. The Cavaliers using Kyrie Irving's name to promote their new jerseys is blank. They officially unveiled their new uniforms on Monday, and highlights of Kyrie Irving were used to introduce their new, quote, coat of armor, their new jersey. So they're using Kyrie to promote their new jersey is blank.
A ploy?
I don't think so. I think it's absolutely fine. He's a member of their team. All that has happened is he has gone to the owner, from what we understand, and said he would like to be traded. Now, I mean, he's still a member of their team. If they want to use his likeness, he's one of the biggest stars in the world. He's under contract. If they want to use his likeness to sell their team.
If this decision was made, I don't know when these decisions are made, but if this decision was made after he requested a trade, you don't think there's anything involved in it that said, let's show him a little love here. Everybody would imagine it would be LeBron being used. Let's use Kyrie. You don't think that was the thought process at all?
Well, I mean, I don't know that he's the only one being used. My point is, I don't think you all of a sudden have to stop using his likeness or anything like that because he has requested
I didn't say that, but you don't think it was a thought process at all?
A ploy to do what?
To show him some love, to say, hey, we think you're, one of the, everything isn't about LeBron. Let's put you out front and center on this. To think that wasn't involved at all? Come on.
Maybe, but I guess what I would say is that I interpreted the question to mean that people they shouldn't be doing that because they're probably going to trade him.
No. I'm looking at it from the reason that it was done. There was more than just happenstance that it happened to be Kyrie. That it's a way to say, hey, you're right there with LeBron, the top guy, and you're one of our guys.
Maybe. It could be. All right, Mike and Mike, that's Fill in the Blankets brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. Meanwhile, back to football we go, where, as I said, it sort of feels like those last-minute preparations before the dinner party when you got to, get rid of any of the trash that's in the living room or whatever it is, because these games start coming up this weekend. And Peter King from the MMQB.com is ready to roll with us. He joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking a few minutes from his tour of NFL training camps and different variety of beers that, if you follow him on Twitter, he likes to try everywhere he goes. How are you, Peter?
That.
Doing well, guys. How about you?
That's where Peter and we need to get together and hang out just for beer taste.
Here's the thing. Here's the one I'm not doing so well, all right? Your MMQB.com ruined my day yesterday as I read this note here that suggested that Christian Hackenberg, who I guess in theory remains possibly the future at quarterback for the New York Jets, although that feels like it's disintegrating, was sent back to the huddle for breaking the huddle incorrectly and then sent off the field during practice for breaking the huddle incorrectly a second time. And, Peter, here's the thing. I've been covering this sport for 25 years. I don't even know what that means. How do you break a huddle incorrectly so badly that they send you off the field?
I don't know, because that was Tim Rohan of our staff was at Jets camp, and what I did was I asked the three people who were on our eastern swing of our training camp tour to each give me a note from something they saw during the week. And so Rohan thought, how crazy is it that Christian Hackenberg gets banished from the play and gets sort of sent away because he can't break the huddle correctly. And look, I mean, this is probably a blip on the radar screen, but it sure was a weird little note. And look, Hackenberg's going to get his shot. He's going to get his shot, and I don't know how long he's going to get for his shot, but it didn't seem like a good sign to me.
We got to call Rohan. I got to find out what this means.
Listen, I'm with you because, as I said, in team periods, I've seen people have to go back to the huddle if there's not breaking it with enthusiasm or whatever. This is 7-on-7, so I have no idea. So maybe we'll try and get a hold of Tim. And,
let's call Tim and find out what that is. Meanwhile, obviously, the really big quarterback news around the sport, Peter, is Jay Cutler coming out of retirement and signing with the Miami Dolphins and all that goes into that. What's your reaction?
I think it's very logical. I mean, I was kind of chortling when people were saying that they should have signed Kaepernick instead of Jay Cutler. I mean, Jay Cutler probably had his best year in the NFL in 2015, all in all, under Adam Gase. He was disciplined. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't make the dumb throws that so often that we've seen him make. And so, to me, so often we look at things and try to find a deeper meaning. This was not a very difficult thing to understand. Adam Gase has the trust of Jay Cutler, and he thinks that if everything goes well this year, this 1 year, because this is all it is, this 1 year, if everything goes well, then he thinks that they can still be a strong playoff contender with a good quarterback. And just remember one thing. Last year, when the Miami Dolphins were called 50% runs or more during the game, and they had Jay Ajayi, obviously, when they did that, they were 7-0. And so don't people? I mean, people should not look at this and say, Cutler's going to come in and throw the ball 500 times and it's going to be bombs away. I think this was the best quarterback for this team at this time, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be an unbalanced team.
No, not by any such. I completely agree that they're going to have that running game. Unfortunately, they lose the left guard in Larson with the torn bicep. As far as there's no. A lot of people liked Matt Moore. I mean, so you don't think there's any divide in that locker room, right? I mean, this has to be Gase brought, just as he said, I didn't bring in Cutler to stand on the sideline, so Cutler's not going to stand on the sideline. So anything with Matt Moore, anything with those that think Colin Kaepernick should have gotten the chance there, any other kind of turmoil with this?
If they signed Kaepernick, then Matt Moore would have been the starter, because it would have taken a while, and Matt Moore would have played until he was ineffective, which could have been 2 games. But look, it's Cutler, because Cutler knows this offense to a T. Obviously, Kaepernick would have, or Ponder, or anybody would have had to come in and learn this offense. So this is, and if you've got Matt Moore as your starter and you bring in somebody else. The reason why, in my opinion, why it was not even a contest is that they want Matt Moore to be the backup. He had either 1 or 2 concussions last year, and who knows how long he can last. So whoever you bring in, you have to feel that that person is going to play a lot this year. And to Adam Gase, Jay Cutler is a guy who, if he had a draft of quarterbacks right now, at this date, right now, Jay Cutler would be high on the list of anybody in football, because the mental part of it is already taken care of. He knows the offense.
Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Peter King is with us. One more on that, because everyone took a lot of note of the fact that Ryan Tannehill, basically at the end of this season, if the Dolphins want to, they could walk away from him with almost no financial obligation and almost no financial penalty. So knowing that, how do you read the future of Tannehill in Miami?
I think it all depends on how Cutler plays, and really, I mean, it'll be a year and a quarter since Tannehill played, and the Dolphins are all we are all in on Tannehill. Tannehill's future is solid. Well, it's easy to say that now, and that's what you're going to say, because you do like Ryan Tannehill, but the future is unknown in Miami. I still don't think that it was absolutely without question that they were going to keep Tannehill long term. He really hasn't proven it yet. And so I don't doubt necessarily that he'll be back for 2018 and he'll be back as the quarterback, but I'm still not sure he's the long-term quarterback in Miami.
A place where there's no quarterback issues at all is in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, going to turn 34 in December in his 13th year, played 13 years in the league. I know you got to hang out with him for a bit. What was the biggest takeaway you had from that meeting?
Most of the time, Mike, when I go in and talk to players, I always ask this one question to most of the guys who I see, who are very prominent players. What did you do this off season to get better? What's the thing that you feel made you a better player in the last few months? And he said basically, the fact that I now have a diet that I feel that I'm putting. He sounds like Brady. He has a diet that he feels like he's putting perfect stuff into his body, perfect fuel, and he is doing a lot of yoga, doing a lot of stretching, and his exercise regimen is really ramped up. And he said, I feel physically just like I did when I was 23 years old. And that's why he said to me, I think, I want to play another 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And I think these guys are all going to the school of Tom Brady University and looking at what he's doing and basically saying, if I take care of myself, I can throw 35 touchdowns and 5 interceptions when I'm 39 years old too. And so I look at it with Rodgers like this is his lifestyle. He likes it anyway, and he's happy with it. He's in a nice, quiet spot in Green Bay. So this works for him, and good for him.
Final thing for you, Peter. We were talking about this yesterday. We always love the Hall of Fame induction stuff, and you know the inside of that. Next year's class, you got 3 new eligibles who would all feel like surefire Hall of Famers to us, and that would be Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, and Randy Moss. But, of course, Lewis and Urlacher played the same position, and Randy Moss played the same position as Terrell Owens, who's still on the outside waiting. So I know we're still a year away from, or at this point, I guess 6 months away from those decisions getting made. But how would you sort of read the tea leaves and how some of that might shake out?
I think the next 2 or 3 years, there's really a lot of premier players who are going to be first-year eligibles, and it just makes it all the more harder. And it makes it all the more harder, too, when Terrell Davis gets in after having 3 superb years and 1 very good year and having incredible playoff success. So I think it's going to be really hard. I think that of those guys you mentioned, Ray Lewis would be number 1 on the list. He'd be number 1 on my list. And then, Randy Moss, even though he had the blips on his screen in his career, like in Oakland, I just think his career is too dominant to not make it. That would just be how I would read it. And then, obviously Urlacher would be number 3 on that list. I don't know that he's an absolute gimme, but I think he's got a fantastic case. And and after that, there are a lot of good players. It's not just Terrell Owens, although, as I've said many times, I'm on the Terrell Owens. I vote for him, and I just think that he's going to get in one of these years, one of these days, and it's a 20-minute debate. But in essence, I think there are questions about what he was like as a teammate, and he dropped a lot of footballs, and that is summing up. Probably the first thing is what stands in his way more than anything else. But I believe now, after talking to a lot of people on the committee and listening to a lot of people on the committee, that eventually he's going to get in.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
It's a day where we're talking about anniversaries, the 25th anniversary of the Olympic gold for the Dream Team. Last night was the 10th anniversary of Bonds breaking the all-time home run record. And you know what's remarkable is how little attention was paid to that. I didn't even realize it was the anniversary till late in the day. I saw some stories about it. So almost nothing was said or remembered about that. But either way, it does make you think. And he's talking, there was a good interview with him that I was reading about how he really regrets not getting one more season because he's positive he could have gotten to 800 home runs.
Right.
Why wouldn't he have? But you look at a guy like Bryce Harper. Do you think he will break the all-time home run record? He's not yet 25. He has 150 home runs.
It's a little early to tell. I mean, him and Trout's only 26, you know? So, I mean, I guess you could say either one of those guys, right? I mean, but, man.
You look at Harper and the power numbers, and you figure as he continues to get bigger and strong. I don't even know. I mean,
a lot of it is on how many games they missed. Times on the DL, serious injuries. If you can avoid that, they both, had issues here and there that have, Trout just recently coming off the thumb and missing time. So that's going to play a ton into it. And a lot of that, is luck of the draw as well, staying healthy. And then not only staying healthy, but obviously the production that you have to have year after year after year. Not just in your 5th, 6th, 7th year, but in your 12th, 13th, 14th year, 15th year to try and get this thing done. So that's so tough to project. I remember what we kept saying when Barry Bonds broke the record and nobody was happy about it. Everybody said, oh, my God, A-Rod could save the day, by breaking that record. And then that all, went to hell in a handbasket as well. So I'm sure, I would imagine baseball people would love to see a guy like Mike Trout or Bryce Harper. He has with some of the old time players, maybe people have a bit of an issue with him,
but not the same one that we had with A-Rod.
Exactly right. So I think that's what maybe some people down the road would want to see.
So Trout is at 191 home runs. Harper is at an even 150 home runs. Trout is just turned 26 yesterday.
Yeah.
And Harper's not yet 25.
Not yet 25, yeah.
So, and look, here we are. We were just talking about players playing older. Aaron Rodgers taking care of his body, wants to play till he's 40. Brady is playing at 40. If these guys are still in that kind of shape, Hank Aaron was hitting home runs into his 40s.
Yeah, it was.
So we'll wait and see. All right, a lot of Twitter reaction out here to a variety of different things. We'll come back to it. But today is a very special day at ESPN. Today is the 8th of August, so it's 8/8. And today, our network, ESPNU, has been rebranded The Ocho. Today, ESPNU is The Ocho, which if you don't know what The Ocho comes from, then you really don't deserve to be in the conversation. That soundbite doesn't work. But I just played for you. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah.
So this, of course, is from the legendary comedy Dodgeball.
Which was on ESPN The Ocho, which is, listen, I thought it was, I love the movie, loved ESPN The Ocho, and now we're doing ESPN The Ocho. It's just fantastic. And the events they're showing on ESPN 8, The Ocho, this is even better. And I can't wait to watch some of these. It's already started. Or is it tonight? Does it start tonight at midnight, or was it last night at midnight?
No, it's running right now.
It already started. I'm sorry, started at midnight. That's right, because today is the 8th. You have American Disc Golf Championship, which is...
So that's Frolf. That's Frisbee golf.
Frisbee golf.
As Seinfeld once called it, it's Frolf. Go ahead. So
there we go.
Frolf.
So that's, a stake in the ground, and you're kind of throwing to that. And
it's Frisbee golf
with a Frisbee. We're also showing Roller Derby Championship. Who hasn't watched Roller Derby?
That'd be guy that loved the roller derby.
I love roller. I watched
Absolutely.
it years ago, the old the Thunderbirds and the T-Birds and the whole deal. And how about this? Sky Zone Ultimate Trampoline Dodgeball.
That was on at 4 a.m. I actually would have liked to have watched that.
I can't imagine the injuries that could happen in that. You're playing dodgeball on trampolines.
I love it. I mean,
Holy
basically,
smokes.
it is essentially a second grade birthday party.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah,
It is
those
birthday party
trampoline places,
for
you're
your,
right.
Yeah, that's every single birthday party that my kids
Fantastic.
went to when they were in second grade. That's what they did. They jumped on trampolines and they played dodgeball.
Cannot believe the ankle I would snap.
Next.
Firefighters World Challenge.
I'm curious to know exactly what that is. Are they doing?
Well, they're doing like
firefighting
when you
events?
do firefighting, like tests and stuff. Like they'll climb a 5-story tower, they'll drag hoses, rescue a life-size 175-pound victim, all while wearing full gear. So
Okay. I like that. I like it.
Okay, here's where some things get interesting. Kabaddi World Cup Final.
It's a contact team sport that originated in India involving two teams and a unique rule. The goal is for each team's raider to tag as many of the opposing team's players as possible and return to his or her home half, all while taking just a single breath. How exactly are they?
I mean, if you learn the art of short breaths, you could really get away with it. How do they tell you have a single breath?
If the raider is tackled and prevented from returning, the opposing team gets the point. I see it. I can see doing this where you're not allowed to take any breaths. But how exactly are they monitoring one breath?
One breath.
I mean, are they going instant replay on this thing? I find that crazy.
That's an interesting one.
That's a sport I'm not as interested in.
Okay, Championship of Bags, which is basically it's a cornhole.
It's cornhole. I've never heard it called bags.
I have. I've heard it called bags and cornhole. You see it at every tailgate out there. And then you have the Moxie Games.
It's an uncanny, new, and amazing event, which combines a variety of sports into one, such as dodgeball and juggling, martial arts and volleyball, table tennis, and soccer.
I really need to see that because you just threw out 5 or 6 sports.
Well, you can see it tonight, 5 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN 8, the Ocho. It's going to be on. You can see exactly what it looks like.
And then U.S. Open Ultimate Championship, a self-officiating competition, 2 teams on a field similar to a football field. Basically, it's football frisbee, right? But the object
it's ultimate frisbee.
Yeah, it's ultimate frisbee.
Yeah. It's frisbee football.
Frisbee football. So, yeah, frisbee golf, frisbee football.
Of all of these,
cornhole.
which one would you be best at?
Best at. The
Which
one I
would
want
you
to
be
see.
the best at competing in?
The one I want to see is trampoline dodgeball, without question.
Right.
I don't.
Which one would you be best at? Can you roller skate? Because if you can roller skate, you could be pretty good at roller derby.
No, I can't.
I can't roller skate particularly well myself.
I would like to be able to.
I'm not doing the kabaddi one. I'm not doing anything with just a single breath.
I don't understand that, and I need to see the Moxie Games to see if I could deal with that.
I feel like I'd be best at bags.
I
got the build for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you don't need any athletic ability at all.
It.
I think I could do either of the frisbee things. I could throw a frisbee
ultimate
pretty
frisbee.
well.
No, but there's a lot of running, and the ultimate frisbee is that's a tough sport because it's endless running.
Maybe
around.
I'll do the frisbee golf then.
Yeah, you can do frisbee golf. That's
I do frisbee golf way better than.
I take it back. That's the one I want to be in. I want to be in the American Disc Golf Championship.
I can throw a frisbee because what's that drinking game you young kids? I played it at Jake's bachelor party. Can jam. Can jam with a frisbee. I was great at it. I took all those young kids at Jake's bachelor party in New Orleans to the woodshed. To the woodshed, I took them all in this can jam game.
And afterwards, you looked up at them and you said, so enjoy it all day long today. It's ESPN 8, the Ocho, on what is otherwise known as ESPNU.
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right, some of the Twitter reaction. Kent tweets, reasons for re-huddling in 7-on-7. Incorrect play call. Quarterback unable to get his receivers lined up. Loose huddle with no enthusiasm. Yasha Jakobovits. Was that Jack Jacobovitz?
Why are you even trying?
I don't even know. Yeah. Tweets, maybe breaking the huddle incorrectly is code for a bad attitude in practice since it's related to coach direction.
What?
I don't know. One way or the other, we now have the man who wrote it, so we can figure this out. We had Peter King on a little while ago, and he said that Tim Rohan of the MMQB is the one who sent in the note for their column, which talked about how Christian Hackenberg was sent off the field for twice breaking the huddle incorrectly in a 7-on-7 drill. As he approached the line of scrimmage, a coach ordered him to re-huddle. When he broke the huddle again in the wrong fashion for a second time, he was ordered off the field. We don't even know what that means.
No, especially, again, 7-on-7. This isn't full team, or I have seen offensive huddles have to re-huddle when not breaking, and that usually at times isn't on the quarterback. It could be on others for not running to the line or whatever. This is 7-on-7.
So Tim Rohan of the MMQB.com, good enough to join us and explain it. Tim, good morning. Mike and Mike here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's our pleasure. Now, you ruined my whole day yesterday. What exactly happened here? How do you break the huddle incorrectly?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to Hackenberg. He wasn't available for comment that day. But I talked to Matt Forte, and he was just saying that the cadence, it sounded like the cadence wasn't right. I don't know if the timing was off or, they get the play, they go in the huddle, they huddle up, they're talking about it, and then apparently they didn't break it in the right way. Forte was talking about, you have to come to the line with a certain, type of attitude. And, I didn't get a chance to talk to the coaches, and it's just 7-on-7, so it's not even all 11 guys on the field. So, like you said, like I wrote, they were huddling up, they were going to the line of scrimmage, and coaches ordered them to re-huddle. John Morton, the offensive coordinator, went over and stood next to Hackenberg in the huddle, and they were talking for 30 seconds, him in the huddle with Hackenberg, and then when they broke the huddle again, coaches got mad, yelled, told Hackenberg to, his turn was over. So they didn't throw him off the field. It was just, okay, your turn's over. Petty went in, McCown went in, and then Hackenberg got another shot. And I actually added in that note, it wasn't all bad. So the next time Hackenberg got on the field, he broke the huddle correctly. He stepped up and he threw a 20-yard pass, probably, the most impressive pass the Jets had all day. And after that, McCown runs up, fist bumps Hackenberg and slaps him hard on the butt. So, he showed a little resilience kind of coming back there. But, yeah, it was for a little bit there was kind of an embarrassing moment.
You got to wonder if the fist pump was for breaking the huddle correctly or the good throw. I can't believe I'm going to continue asking and break this thing down, but I'm going to anyway against my better judgment. When they had to return to the huddle, and then his time was over. Did he get all the way to the line of scrimmage before they were sent back, or was it while they were walking to the line? That would help me a little bit in understanding why. How far into the possibility of actually starting a play did they get before he was sent back to the huddle?
No, you're exactly right. They didn't even get to the line. They took a few steps out of the huddle and from one of the coaches, the group. So he was called back before they even got to the line. So it was clearly they're not clapping at the same time, or I don't know. You would know better than I what kind of cadence you need to break the huddle, but it was clearly a breaking huddle issue.
So basically, what you're saying is, if they made it to the line of scrimmage, it was already an improvement. It's a win. If they actually physically get to the line of scrimmage, that's a win.
Yeah. Well, I want to stress it was just one day, so I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good look.
Okay. Tim, thank you for clearing this up, because, it ruined pretty much my entire day yesterday, and now at least we have some context to it. So we appreciate it very much. We enjoy your work, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so if you didn't get to the line, that means it really, I don't think, was more of a play thing of when he getting to the line and not doing something correctly. It obviously had to do with just how they broke the huddle. And he's the quarterback. He runs the huddle, so it's on him.
So whether it's a cadence thing or whether it's an attitude thing or whether it's a timing thing or whatever thing it is, basically.
He didn't do it.
There was great enthusiasm when they actually made it to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and then he threw a 20-yard dart. Again, I don't know if the fist pump from McCown was for breaking the huddle correctly or the pass.
Well, and then and then we'll make this the end of the conversation related to this, but the really terrible news is, yesterday, they lose by far their best offensive player for the season, Quincy Enunwa, who was the only accomplished receiver on the team and is actually a pretty good player. And anyone who plays fantasy knows he's put up some pretty good numbers and really appeared now to be the guy with the absence of Marshall and Decker and everything else. He's out for the year with a neck. So they really could have the worst offense in the NFL.
I wonder what's worse in your mind. Christian Hackenberg can't break a huddle, or the Bachelorette Rachel actually chose someone she didn't like as much as someone else?
Well, I don't really understand the entire way that thing played out. You're basically saying she was only choosing someone who was willing to marry her?
Basically.
That was her bottom line.
The guy she wanted wasn't ready to get married after, just 3 months of hanging out, wanted to spend a little more time together. She wanted to put a ring on it, and so she went with another guy.
I think the Hackenberg thing is worse.
You think?
I think so. I think if she was able to break the huddle, then she's one up on us.
Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at lq.com. As I said, it feels like football as preseason games just around the corner here, last-minute decisions taking place, injury news, which is always sometimes unfortunately so much a part of the story, and getting ready to start another season after finishing 12-4 last year. His team actually has the best record in the league since Week 7 of the 2015 season. The head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, is back with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Good morning, Coach.
How are we doing, guys?
Good. Doing well.
We're doing great. And just give everyone a general sense of what this is for you. Again, it's a lot of years you've been doing this now. And what are the emotions and the feelings and the enthusiasm and the excitement for you relative to perhaps earlier in your career as you show up at Missouri Western State University, get training camp going in earnest, and now get set for your first preseason game?
Yeah, no, I love training camp. It's an opportunity to coach is what it is. You're not getting ready for an opponent. You're getting your team ready for the season. So it's the most concentrated time that you have to coach the players, and you get to do it for a few weeks, and that part's enjoyable to me.
So, and as you start another year, and the story was this year, you guys trading up to bring in Patrick Mahomes, but you have the quarterback in Alex Smith. But just in developing of young quarterbacks today, we've talked so much about it with you and others, from the college game to the pro game. What do you look for, and what have you seen early on in a player in that transition from the college game to the NFL?
Well, Mike, the thing I love about the college game right now is that they're throwing the football. So I think that transition for these young quarterbacks coming in, it really doesn't matter the scheme necessarily as much as that they've had an opportunity to have to read a coverage and throw balls short, intermediate, and long, and the timing part, the element there. So the transition's a bit different than when you're getting getting quarterbacks from teams that were running the ball a little bit more. Listen, every quarterback's different. Every situation's different that they're put in. It's a sensitive position according to a situation that they're incorporated into, and so you hope for the best that they can come into a stable situation and then have good teachers around them to give them an opportunity to maximize their potential. And so. With Patrick, we liked what we saw at Tech, and he was a very exciting player. You've got to work on the blitz game. You've got to work on the footwork. A couple of those things have changed around. He was never under center, so you got to do that part. But he was coached well there, and he's got a pretty good grasp of football in general, and that part's exciting to watch him grow every day here as he goes through camp and our installations.
So when people look at different teams in training camp, a lot of times you look at the headlines and kind of get a gist of what's going on, and then you just see a headline: Patrick Mahomes has 3-interception day at Chiefs practice. Is that a misleading thing? I mean, when you just read something like that and say, "Oh boy, he must be struggling," is that a misleading thing to think?
Yeah, well, this is what I tell the quarterbacks: is test the water. I mean, do it here. That's why we're here. So get used to the offense. Get used to what you can get away with. And so if it's a keyhole throw that you're trying to put the ball through the keyhole, then let's do it here. And if it's not working here, at least you have an idea of that route and what you can maximize out of that route. And yeah, so I'd tell you yes. I'm not opposed to interceptions at practice if they're making the right reads, the progressions are proper, and then you can tell you've been around it long enough. You can tell when they're just trying to fit it in and see what they can get away with.
So as we're talking to Andy Reid, head coach of the Chiefs, as we're getting ready for the first preseason game, I hearken back to my first preseason game as a rookie, a 10th rounder, so, wasn't guaranteed certainly anything. And players know, as you know, Andy, more than anybody else, kind of the pecking order of who kind of belongs where. As you get ready for the first preseason game and you have young players looking to try and make a mark, what do you tell them? How do you have them approach their first real action now against somebody else who's playing in the NFL and trying to make a team?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I give the players, I tell them everybody's going to play. As long as you're healthy and you're able to play, you're going to have an opportunity to get in there and play this first preseason game. Nothing's guaranteed after that, but this one, we're going to give you an opportunity for your efforts to get on tape, and it gives us a chance to see you in one more situation that's important to your profession. So, but on the other hand, I'm gonna cut things back so that these young guys, they're not doing a lot of thinking, and they can get out there and play and show what they're all about and athletically. So I explain that to them. I mean, shoot them straight with it. You relax, go play. Now, obviously, the juices are going to be going when the lights are on and the fans are there, and all of that part is going on. It's a little different tempo, and like you said, the other guys are trying to make the team, but the best you can. Let's not do a lot of thinking. Let's go play and see what you got.
Andy Reid at Chiefs camp, where you have Michael Vick working as a coaching intern. What are you hoping to get from him, and what are you hoping he gets out of the experience?
Yeah, how fun's that, man? I mean, he's to see him working to take the next step in his life. He's retired officially now, although he looks like he still can play. But he has retired, and what you see with players is they're kind of looking for that next step, and particularly the quarterbacks. They're smart guys, and they sit back there and they have opportunities to do different things, whether it's in the media or coaching, whatever it might be. And so that's where Michael's at right now. He's in that transition stage. He was coaching high school football and back home, and he was enjoying it. And I've stayed in touch with him. I said, well, listen, just why don't you come up here and do our intern program and see if you like it? And he was all fired up about that. Came up. Players have loved having him here. And he jumps in and he talks to them and communicates from a player standpoint what he's been through, not only been through as a player, but also as a person, and how he sees the game and so on. So it's been tremendous having him there.
When you guys brought him in and you talk with him, is this something that he wants to do? Is this a profession he wants to get into?
Well, potentially. He said he wanted to be on the Mike and Mike show. He just wanted to jump on. Yes, but then I said, hey, I tried talking him out of it. He's just looking at different avenues to take now that he's done playing.
I guess the final thought, because we know that you need to run to a meeting here. If you're looking for a way to get your team ready, you certainly start with the right kind of game. It's like these college teams that schedule huge opponents. You open on a Thursday night at Foxborough, where they'll be, putting up a flag in New England. So how does that change, if at all, the equation of getting ready to start a season when you know that's your opener?
Yeah, how great is that, man? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So that's what this is all about. That's why we're in this thing, to get an opportunity to play the best, and you wish that was every week, that you just had an opportunity to get out there and battle against the world champions. So they got a great football team, they got a great coach, and you love that part of it. That's what this is all about. That's why we're all in it. I know Mike Golick talks about that all the time. That you're one. In theory, you're one of the best in the business in the world, really. 1 out of 32 people in the world, whether you're a player or a coach, it doesn't matter. You're 1 out of 32, and then you get to play the best out of the 1 out of the 32, and you get to start your season that way. That's at a great venue in New England there, so we're excited.
Andy, we always appreciate a few minutes of your time, and best of luck as you start your 100th year in the league.
Good luck, Andy. Thank you.
All right, guys. Appreciate it, man.
The best of Mike and Mike.
So let's see if we can get a couple of minutes of the undivided attention of the one, the only, the NFL insider, Adam Schefter. Good morning, Shefty.
We're going to do our best to stick with you for this entire segment or segments. If you decide to keep me over, I'm all good.
All right, what is your take on the Cutler signing and spinning it forward? what, if anything, it means for Ryan Tannehill's future in Miami.
Look, Ryan Tannehill was a question mark coming into this season anyway. So I think what this does is it gives Jay Cutler the advantage to go in there. And if Jay Cutler plays well, they'll try to re-sign him to a long-term extension after the season. If he struggles, if he's mediocre, if he flounders at all, they'll move on. They'll see how Ryan Tannehill is doing. But the Dolphins are in quarterback limbo, like a lot of teams in this league. And it's up to Jay Cutler to get the first chance here to try to solve their quarterback issues. And if he can do that, then I think he has a good chance to stick around the Miami area. And if not, maybe it's Ryan Tannehill. Maybe it's Kirk Cousins. Maybe it's somebody else. You just don't know. But they're in that same quarterback situation that a lot of other teams would be in. Cutler was the best case scenario for this franchise at this time. It's not perfect. It's not ideal. But it was the best they could do. It was like Teddy Bridgewater going down last year. The Vikings trade for Sam Bradford, who had worked with Pat Shurmur, who was on their coaching staff. Ryan Tannehill goes down. They could sign him without having to give up anything to another team. He's worked with Adam Gase. Adam Gase believes in him, and we'll see what Adam Gase can get out of him.
Whenever there's a quarterback opening, Colin Kaepernick name gets brought into it, and we were just reading about this rally August 23rd in front of the NFL headquarters for Colin Kaepernick. So that's going to go on. We don't know what it's going to be like, but the bottom line is, do you think there can be external pressure enough put on the NFL, which seems odd because it's individual teams, not the NFL as a whole, to somehow change this situation?
I don't know about that. I'm skeptical about that. Again, I know the league can step in and help influence certain things, and I know there are people who think that the league has done that in the past in certain isolated cases. But, again, I think when we look at Colin Kaepernick, there have been teams this offseason where the coaching staffs and front offices have been interested in making a move with him. And there have been other factors, people above them, that have weighed in and decided that they didn't think it was the right move for their organizations to make at this point in time. So when a rally like this happens, it's going to bring added pressure to the NFL to try to make something happen, but it's also going to have the other effect, too, and I think it's going to serve as another alarm to some of those people who are going to have to sign off on this to say that if we sign this guy, this is the type of attention we're going to get. And I think that that's what every team has been weighing every time his name comes up. Not only the player you're getting, but the attention it's going to bring. And it's going to bring a lot of attention. It's in an apolitical way, a little bit like the Tim Tebow situation, that anybody that was going to sign Tim Tebow was going to get the circus coming to town as well. And it's the same thing here with Colin Kaepernick from a political and much more sensitive standpoint here.
And so we'll see. I agree that this is not if there's a belief on some people's part, and I don't have documented evidence of this, but I do not believe this is a league organized collusion situation. I think these are 32 individuals making the decision that they don't want this on their team. They don't want this whole situation on their team. So I don't know exactly what impact any of this external pressure will have on any of the individuals who have to make this decision. Now, I do believe there are owners out there who would be interested in signing or would be willing to sign Colin Kaepernick on their team, and maybe as it happens, they're not ones that have teams that need quarterbacks right now. Again, I don't know this for sure. Maybe there's no owner that would do it. You would know that better than I would.
Let's look at it like this also. It's August 9th.
Right.
Teams have filled their roster spots. For Colin Kaepernick to get work, I think it's going to take a team suffering an injury. Baltimore had one. There were people on that staff that wanted him in that building. There are other people who didn't. The people who didn't, their voices were stronger. Their power heavier than the people who did. So he didn't wind up going to Baltimore. But you're at the point in the year where it's going to take something like that. It's not all of a sudden some team's going to say, I think I'll go sign Colin Kaepernick. This is not March 9th. This is August 9th. We're 2-3 weeks into training camp. Teams are moving forward with the rosters they have and the players they have. He's going to step in now, and he's had to learn a new offensive system. There are different challenges that come with signing a player at this time of the year. So it's a different deal right now at this time of the year, I think, overall.
Moving on to another player, Zeke Elliott. Stephen Jones has come out and said, hey, NFL, we'd love for you to give us a little decision here on what's going on. So why hasn't there been? And could it be possible that they wanted to wait till after Jerry Jones had his moment in the sun?
Well, I don't think that's directly it, but again, I don't think it hurt the situation. Now, I think the NFL has pointed out that there has been this 4-person committee that has been making recommendations. And as far as I can tell, I don't know if all those recommendations were in as of yesterday. Maybe they are as of this morning. But I think the commissioner was still waiting for all the recommendations before he could render a final decision. Let's put it this way. I don't think the league was in any hurry to get that decision out last week. I think there was no rush with Jerry Jones going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I do think that the league is trying to be as thorough as it can before it comes to any sort of verdict in making a decision on Ezekiel Elliott. But at the same time, I think Stephen Jones is right. It's been over a year.
Yeah.
Over a year. They formed a report that was over 100 pages. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this investigation. Either he did do something or he didn't. I don't mean to make it so black or white, but what's taking so long? It's crazy.
Mike and Shefty's in our studio at the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. I saw this news yesterday about Quincy Enunwa of the Jets, and who was basically the only representative wide receiver they have on the roster on a team that doesn't have almost any other skill position players. I mean, an aging Matt Forte and major questions, to be kind, at the quarterback position. And I thought to myself, they could make a run at having the worst offense that we've ever seen. Is it conceivable they could be the worst offense that we've ever seen?
I mean, that's a bit of a stretch and a bit strong in the
record
preseason.
is 140 points in a 16-game
Was that
season.
Seattle?
The 92 Seahawks.
I watched that team in action and could not believe how inept they were. And I believe their quarterback, for a part of the time, Stan Gelbaugh, if I'm not mistaken. This Jets offense is not exactly going to be a juggernaut, Greeny. And the question remains how bad they can be. And you just wonder where that production's going to come from. I do think they have some good coaches on their staff who are going to be able to come up with some good plans. But, again, the firepower is just not there from an offensive standpoint. And so I don't know that it's going to set the record, but it's got a chance to be
bad
in that category. Which is not the way that you want to start. I mean, this is not the way you want to start the season. And it's hard to even think that we're saying, okay, well, now you lost Quincy Enunwa, now you're really doomed. That question alone should tell you something about the state
where
of your
you were
offense.
to begin with. Yeah.
Stan Gelbaugh, by the way, started 8 games that year. Kelly Stouffer started 7. Yeah. Dan McGuire started.
I watched that team in action at the Seattle Kingdom a couple of different times, and they were bad.
One more for me. Brandon Albert got traded to Jacksonville, didn't show up for anything. First day of camp, he was first team. After that, Cam Robinson was. 3 days into camp, he retires. A week later, he comes back. Jacksonville says at this point they don't want him. What are the options for him? What is this limbo he's in, and what can happen?
Well, I think it comes back to his contract because essentially, if he didn't report, he was going to have to pay back $3.8 million.
Right.
So there's something there that the two sides will have to figure out, and I don't know what conclusion they're going to come to.
But if they don't want him, they have to cut him. Is that and I mean,
well, if they cut him, then he's free of the money.
Right.
So, again, this I don't think it's as simple as, okay, we're cutting you, but then if he's saying I'm there, is he really there? This is a unique case, and to be perfectly honest, I got to make a few calls to figure out exactly how it's going to go.
I couldn't figure out where it was going to go.
Money is at the root of it, of course.
Sure it is.